The guest explained that the painting had been in her husband's family for many years. The appraiser identified the artist as Cornelius Krieghoff, a notable 19th century Canadian painter known for his vivid, narrative-rich genre scenes. Krieghoff was originally from Holland, where he had been influenced by the European tradition of finely painted depictions of everyday life. His works were highly popular during his lifetime because they captured lively and relatable moments.
What he's really known for are these wonderfully vibrant genre scenes that almost read like novels. You have the images in the piece of the sled and of the mother and child, and just a great deal of activity.
Due to his popularity and the value of his work, many forgeries of Krieghoff's paintings exist. However, the appraiser and their team carefully examined the painting in question.
And the quality of the piece, the style of the piece, and the provenance of the piece led us to come to the conclusion that there's a very, very strong chance that the piece is right.
They noted that the original frame had been altered, possibly with radiator paint. Despite this, the piece still represented a fine and charming example of the artist's work. Based on these factors, the appraiser placed the painting's estimated auction value at
I would estimate the piece at auction between $200,000 and $300,000.
Oh my God!
The guest explained that the painting was a treasured family heirloom, originally gifted to her father by his great-aunt Emma Bellows, the wife of renowned American artist George Bellows.
When my father was a young boy, he used to visit Emma in upstate New York at her home there. He used to go and see the paintings in the house, and apparently there was tons of them, and he was the only boy that used to be interested in these paintings. Emma was so intrigued that this young boy loved the art so much that she actually gifted this painting to my father.
Oh, that's wonderful.
The appraiser confirmed that the painting was indeed by George Bellows, an artist regarded as one of the most important figures in American art history.
Ranks right along with Akins, Homer, Sargent, and Edward Hopper. He was born in Columbus, Ohio, and he actually was truly enchanted with art because he gave up a professional baseball career in order to follow his artistic pursuits.
Although the painting was unsigned, the appraiser believed it to be fully authentic due to its impeccable provenance. Stylistically, the appraiser dated the work to around 1913. The piece was admired for the dramatic sky, heavy impasto, and distinctive palette of bluish gray and vivid green, all hallmarks of Bellows' style during that period.
So this particular subject, being in the Catskills, is very, very unusual for him. He did paint in Woodstock, but not scenes of the mountains like this.
The painting was executed on panel and featured a heavy varnish layer, some of which had coagulated over time. A professional cleaning was recommended to restore its brightness and clarity. Due to the painting's size, subject, and date, its estimated value was
Painting like this, given the size, the date, and the subject matter, a gallery in New York would probably sell it for $150,000.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Oh, wow, thank you.
The guest presented a powerful artwork titled Moonshiners by Winfred Rembert, a self-taught artist from New Haven, Connecticut.
My husband and I wanted to support him, so we went to his house in New Haven. Very sweet man, a man who was nearly lynched, a man who served 7 years on a chain gang, yet he was a puppy of a guy, just a very sweet man, and we bought this painting.
The appraiser noted that Rembert began creating art around the age of 50 and produced between 500 to 800 pieces during his lifetime.
And he was born in 1945, as you said, in the Jim Crow South. He was born in Americus, Georgia.
Moonshiners depicts a slice of daily life on Hamilton Avenue in Cuthbert, featuring sugar-laden wheelbarrows and scenes of illicit alcohol production. Unlike his more emotionally intense works, such as those portraying lynchings, cotton fields, or chain gangs, this piece captured a vibrant, textured moment from his past. The appraiser also shared that Rembert had a deep emotional connection to his subjects, sometimes so intense that creating certain works caused him physical illness.
Towards the end of his life, he was under the care of a psychiatrist because when he worked on certain scenes, on certain topics, he became physically ill. He was definitely suffering from PTSD and was diagnosed as such, but that helped him. And in his autobiography, he thanked the doctors that helped him, which allowed him to continue to work on those subjects.
In today's market, due to the growing institutional interest and the rarity of his work, the estimated value for this exquisite piece was...
In today's market, retail, I would have no problem saying this is somewhere between $100,000 and $125,000.
Are you serious? Wow. I hate to say wow, but I didn't expect that.
The guest recalled his role as the official White House photographer for President John F. Kennedy.
Started the job in inaugural day of 1961 and stayed with him until Dallas. I was in Dallas during the horrible assassination.
One particular swearing-in photograph of Vice President Johnson on the plane was considered an iconic image of the 20th century.
And I said, so am I, and I picked up my camera and went out to the plane. And when I got there, the press secretary, acting press secretary, Malcolm Kilduff, said, thank God you're here, Cecil. He said, the president's going to take his oath on the plane, and you're going to have to service the wires with the photograph. So I took the only photograph of the swearing-in that you see.
He shared that, while he had initially included his name in the caption, the image later became a standard wire photo with no credit given to him. The guest also shared a deeply personal story about a signed photograph he received as a Christmas gift in 1962. The signatures were verified as authentic, and both the rarity and sentimental value of the image were emphasized. In another recollection, the guest described being urgently called to the White House to take President Johnson's picture sitting at his desk.
And in order to have some kind of activity, I asked him if he'd sign the pictures. So he's signing this picture, and that's the picture that he signed.
This picture is lying right there. It's difficult when we talk about value with such iconic images.
The appraiser concluded with deep admiration for Stoughton's legacy, calling the photographs historically important and irreplaceable. Altogether, the collection was appraised at...
So together, I would put the value for insurance at $75,000.
Okay.
And you've got some incredible things, and it is an honor to meet you. These images I knew of my entire life, and I appreciate your work, and I'm glad you finally have some recognition.
Well, thank you very much.
The guest shared an extraordinary personal journey as an engineer during the Apollo space program.
I started collecting the photos after Apollo 1 burned up. When I went to the Cape and the launch team, they sold us these jackets. We didn't have to buy them, but we just all wanted to wear them, so we all bought these jackets.
Remember what you paid for the jacket?
Yeah, I think it was $40, which was a lot of money in the 60s.
As part of the Quality Control Division, his responsibilities included testing the spacecraft before the astronauts entered. A photo presented showed the guest firing 100-pound thrusters on the service module, part of his regular duties. He also proudly displayed a detailed executive model of the Apollo spacecraft, a gift he had personalized over the years.
If we pick this up, it's a couple pieces, but we can see that that's the...
Yes.
So you're in the command module.
I'm in the command module. I'm
firing
here.
that.
The guest had collected 15 astronaut signatures on it, including those of Buzz Aldrin, Walt Cunningham, and a faint but authentic Neil Armstrong. In addition, he presented a remarkable piece of history, a burnt rescue arrow decal and a serial number label salvaged from the Apollo 11 command module.
What happens is when the spacecraft would come back to Downey, we would strip them all down, take all this stuff off them, and make them pretty. And so this arrow, which is right here, they were scraping all this stuff off. They were throwing it away in a big pile, so I just gave it to me. This label was, another guy gave that to me, and he gave it to me because I was the final person to stamp saying, hey, we got a good product.
The appraiser was visibly impressed and provided a valuation that reflected both the historical significance and rarity of the items.
Would be between $53,000 and $85,000.
That's amazing.
The guest shared a remarkable story about acquiring 2 works by Pablo Picasso.
It was the day after Picasso died, and we spied these 2 things, and my husband said, if we're going to buy Picasso, now's the time to do it.
The appraiser was impressed with their foresight and confirmed that one of the items was a hand-signed lithograph by Picasso. The other item was an exquisitely crafted ceramic piece. They discussed Picasso's tireless creativity and versatility, noting that even at the height of his fame, he continued to explore various artistic forms. He created more than 20,000 artworks and remained prolific well into his 90s Latin. Picasso's works frequently appeared in major art auctions, often fetching prices in the hundreds of millions of dollars. The appraiser highlighted the stylistic parallels between the two works, noting that despite their different mediums, both strongly embodied Picasso's distinctive aesthetic. Regarding value, the appraiser estimated that the two items together would fetch around.
At auction, you have about $23,000 worth of Picassos here.
That's very favorable, better than the stock market, I'll tell you that.
The guest shared a heartwarming and historic story from her childhood that began when she was just 8 years old.
I went to try out for the Little League, and they had a Yankee Bat Boy contest. Well, girls couldn't participate, so I made up a name with Jimmy Lotzi. So when they called my house, my mother answered the phone. They said, "Oh, your son Jimmy just won the Yankee Bat Boy contest." And my mother started to laugh. She said, "Well, I don't have a son Jimmy, but it's my daughter Nancy."
Rather than disqualifying her, the Yankees decided to make her the honorary Batgirl, recognizing the charm and determination behind her entry. Fulfilling a childhood dream in the most unforgettable way, the guest received a game-used bat from Mickey Mantle and signed a photograph.
So they said to me, "Who's your favorite Yankee?" And I said, "Oh, Mickey Mantle." And it just so happened that Mickey Mantle came to speak to me.
The appraiser was clearly moved by the story and impressed by the memorabilia and its accompanying documentation. He noted that the bat, used by Mantle to hit a home run and gifted directly to Nancy, was extraordinarily rare and meaningful. Supporting materials, including photos of Nancy with Mickey Mantle and her feature in Life magazine, added further value and historical significance. Because of the bat's direct provenance and iconic association with one of baseball's greatest legends, the estimated value was,
at auction, I would expect a bat like this to go for about $35,000. It's truly a fantastic piece. One of the best pieces I've seen on this show.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I mean, my memories are awesome.
The guest shared that she had inherited a textile from her grandmother in 1976.
I know that my grandfather collected Native American items, and he died in 1937. My guess is that he probably did most of his collecting between 1900 and 1920. And I don't know much more about that. I've been told it's Navajo. I don't know.
The piece was confirmed to be Navajo, specifically identified as a Germantown weaving. The appraiser explained that Germantown yarns were produced commercially in Germantown, Philadelphia, and were known for their fine quality and vibrant range of colors.
Now, the Navajo had a long tradition of weaving, and they made classic blankets from the early 19th century into the time of their incarceration in the 1860s. When the 1880s came along and some of these Germantown yarns started becoming available to the Navajo, they started doing much more elaborate weavings like this one.
Upon examining the textile, the appraiser noted a strong influence from Saltillo weavings of northern Mexico, recognized for their intricate designs and bright color palettes. The piece was further highlighted for its artistic merits.
And there's almost a rainbow effect. They have so many colors available that they started doing shading of the colors from dark to light. The Saltillos usually had a central diamond with a serrate edge like this. Now the Navajo, in this case, she's expanded on that idea and made concentric diamonds that vibrate.
The weaving included pictorial elements such as crosses, bow and arrow motifs, and arrowheads of varying sizes.
Some of these Germantowns, when they were first introduced, the traders didn't like them. They thought they were a little vibrant. In retrospect now, we look at them and they're tour de forces, really.
The textile showed creases from long-term folding, which should be addressed by a textile conservator. The appraiser mentioned that such pieces are now highly valued by collectors for their complexity and vivid design. Due to its quality, design, and condition, the auction value was estimated at,
I think your Germantown blanket at auction would bring between $20,000 to $30,000.
Wow. Wow.
The guest shared her deep personal affection for a pair of antique silhouettes, which were admired for their beauty and craftsmanship.
I purchased them at an antique shop in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. There's something that makes me smile, and I love looking at them every day.
The appraiser estimated the works to date from around 1825 to 1830.
And the way that we date these is by fashion, their hairstyle, the style of their jewelry.
The silhouettes were created using a cutwork technique, in which the figures were cut from paper and mounted onto another sheet. The appraiser also noted that one of the pieces had shifted in its frame, revealing a blue background behind it. Further examination of the medium, pastel on paper with metallic foil accents, and the distinctive blue background led the appraiser to associate the silhouettes with the work of Ruth Henshaw Bascom.
She worked in this style. She worked in New England, and these fall right within the height of the period in which she worked, in the 1820s, 30s, and 40s.
The guest had originally paid $150 for the pair, believing them to be simply attractive 19th century silhouettes. Based on their age, technique, and aesthetic quality, the pair could fetch,
If I were estimating them for auction today, I would say 10 to 15,000.
All right.
However, with all the forensic clues that we've amassed, if we were to price them as by this artist, Ruth Henshaw Bascom, they would be worth double that. For
I have goosebumps.
20 to 30,000.
No way. Oh my God. Oh, I have goosebumps. They're going up my legs. Oh my gosh.
the guest brought in a deeply personal and historically significant piece of American folk art.
My grandfather had actually two occupations. One is a barber and one is a wood carver. He took time in between shaves and customers to whittle, which is what he called it.
It was identified as a carved preaching stick created by her grandfather Elijah Pierce, a renowned African-American artist and barber. The preaching stick on display was one of his signature creations, used both in his barber shop to tell stories and during his church sermons as a visual aid. It represented a unique fusion of spiritual devotion, storytelling, and community engagement. The appraiser recognized the piece as an important example of African-American folk art and specifically highlighted Pierce's growing recognition within the field of self-taught Black artists.
It speaks to his personal narrative and his religious fervor and spirit. So it's all kind of present on this preaching stick. In looking through the books in which this piece has been illustrated and exhibited, the consensus seems to be that it was carved somewhere around 1950.
Elijah Pierce's work has been featured in major collections and is celebrated for both its craftsmanship and cultural depth. Due to its uniqueness and exhibition history, the suggested value was
The auction estimate for this work would be somewhere in the vicinity of $15,000 to $20,000.
Okay.
The guest shared the story of a remarkable discovery, a historic Navajo weaving.
This weaving was in a camp that we purchased in northern Maine, a wilderness camp. It was on a daybed, folded. As far as I know, it'd been there since the 1930s or when the camp was built in 1830s. I don't know anything about it.
Upon examination, the appraiser immediately recognized the textile as a moki sarape, a Navajo weaving influenced by Spanish sarapes. The word moki is derived from Hopi, and this style features distinctive horizontal banded stripes in brown and indigo blue.
This pattern started showing up in the American Southwest in the late 1700s, and we really didn't see any being woven after 1900.
This particular piece, based on its construction and materials, was dated to somewhere between 1878 and 1890, making it well over a century old. The appraiser emphasized that the weaving was not made for trade or tourism, but was an authentic garment worn by indigenous people, likely as a shoulder wrap. Its design, color scheme, and remarkably preserved condition added to both its historical and monetary value. The appraiser noted the glorious form and vibrant fiber mix, calling it an exquisite example of Navajo craftsmanship. In terms of value, the weaving was estimated to be worth
At auction, they've been showing up at $18,000 to $22,000.
And I have several more.
It's an exquisite weaving.
Yay!
The guest brought 2 albums from her time as an inker and painter at Walt Disney Studios in the late 1930s and early 1940s.
How long did you work at the Disney Studios?
Several years. I worked on Pinocchio and Fantasia and Bambi, and later on I worked in Sleeping Beauty.
The albums included inked animation cells, practice test pieces, and pencil animation drawings, some from Snow White and Pinocchio. The appraiser noted that the collection offered a rare, behind-the-scenes glimpse into the labor-intensive animation process of the era, long before computer-generated imagery. The appraiser pointed out that the cells and drawings had been trimmed, which slightly reduced their market value. Despite that, the historical significance, rarity, and the guest's personal connection to the golden age of Disney animation made the collection truly special. The entire collection of cells and drawings was estimated to be worth around...
The whole collection itself is worth about $15,000 to $20,000.
Oh, that sounds good.